Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll do another entry here based on your past suggestions. This one was also suggested around a year or so ago, and it has to do with another entry that has it's a local monster of sorts that has a following within the community that it was found. So very fascinating stuff. I was just mentioning that in my other video the other day that I processed Beast of Busco. So now we have this one also mimicking it, and it has to do with a creature that has been cited multiple times. So this thing is by far one of the most commonly cited cryptids yet within America. Not like, let's say, the all-stars like the Bigfoots and so forth, but no, when you have a localized cryptid having that kind of number of sightings, it definitely stands out. So what is this creature? Well, I'm talking about the monster known as the White River Monster, which you're looking at a picture of here. It is a creature that is located there in Arkansas near the banks of the White River. So if you're near that area, and if you're a local, you will definitely be familiar with this creature. In fact, it is so well known there that it has a colloquial term of sorts called Whitey. Like, that is the actual nickname that the locals call it there. They call it Whitey. So again, what is the White River Monster? Well, think of it like a souped up giant fish of some sort, maybe even like a piranha fish, because based on the descriptions that people have said and then some of the drawings that you'll see throughout this feature, you'll see that it looks like your average piranha, but much, much larger. In fact, the size of it has been described as being possibly one of the largest fishes yet within the world. So you're talking about a creature that is reported to be either the size of several cars, in this case several cars long, 3 cars long, and then also as wide as a car, and then other times it's been described as being as large as a box car, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is those box cars, the ones you find on railroads. So that is absolutely huge. And then other times it's been described as having the size of a very, very large elephant, much larger, in fact, than your average elephant. So clearly we're talking about a fish, a monster fish, a supersized fish, something that is nothing like would be seen in today's normal parts of the sea where you have, let's say, your common group of fish. No, nothing like this at all. It would be much larger than, say, your great white, or even larger than something on the lines of a killer whale. So let's talk about its first known instance of encounters. Now, there apparently have been reports of this creature being around since sometime in the Civil War. If that's correct, I mean, that's a long time back. No real definitive statement, though, like who saw this creature during that time period in the Civil War. So I don't know. I don't really add too much credence to that. But apparently during that time period, the river near that area was used during the Civil War for transportation purposes. And that's when people started to see the monster. And in fact, one experience apparently was that this thing, whatever it was, overturned one of those boats carrying transportation from to and from certain parts of the Civil War. So that's at least the first known instance, but again, no known details really about who encountered it, where it was encountered, so details are a little loose. Now, to get to a more specific date when this truly could be considered the first encounter, you have to go to 1915. So just a little over 100-year celebration, a centennial birthday of sorts. July 1st of that year, there was some owner who had a plantation, and he saw this creature there right by the river. I think he's credited as the one as being truly the first person to actually encounter this creature. The way he reported it was a creature that had this weird grayish skin. He's the one that also stated that it was 3 cars long and 1 car wide, and he was the one that started to spread the news about it. But it seemed like whatever it was, whatever this thing was located, that was it. Like, it was probably seen just once by this person, but then nothing else came about it. In fact, the gentleman that found it, Bramlett Bateman, he was the owner of that plantation. He tried to spread it, and there was an attempt to try to capture the creature, but nothing really came about because of it. You have to go actually because there were apparently sporadic sightings of this creature from that period up until 1937, if you could believe it. So a little over 20 years. That's when another fisherman, a fisherman rather than somebody near that location of the plantation, someone else though, a fisherman, noticed that this thing, whatever it was, something was actually taking away a lot of the local fish from that area. So that White River location, again there in Arkansas, apparently there were a lot of fishermen, but one of them noticed, hey, where's all the fish? You know, all the fish are gone. And that's when he started to talk around to others, and lo and behold, Bramlett Bateman, the same guy, the one that had the very first sighting, he's the one that told that fisherman that yes, it's this creature, it's the one that's causing it. It's probably eating the majority of the fish within that river. And he later also confirmed more information about it, but this time he added more detail, if you can believe it. Maybe he was someone that saw this creature multiple times now. But he was also reported that this was a creature now 4 or 5 feet wide, 12 feet long, and then now it had the face of a common catfish. So again, imagine like your average fish, a catfish, but now this time actually much larger. And the way he described it was he saw it, as he put it, quotations, lolling on the surface of the water. So that point though, it seemed like things took a really bizarre turn. Like if you can believe this, here's what happened. This guy, he was wanting to make sure that this creature was not impacting his area anymore, and so he actually petitioned to try to have some area, some eddy of that river blown up, because he wanted, that's where he saw this creature, he wanted it blown up because he did not want this creature endangering anything near his plantation. I don't quite get how he could have felt that it was a threat to his plantation and his crops, because again, it's the river. It's not like the crops are in the river itself. Maybe it was impacting the flow of water, who knows. But in any case, he actually tried to get authorities to approve that permission. He wanted to blow up that eddy that he believed housed the creature, but he was denied, rightfully denied. He was actually denied permission for it, but it still caused a little bit of sensation within that area, because now a lot of other people started to come forward, starting to see this creature more and more. I told you it was about 1917 and 1937 or so. In fact, it was reported that there were about 100 sightings, if you can believe it, 100 sightings of this creature. Remember I mentioned it earlier in the video that this was a local monster of sorts that had a whole bunch of sightings. Well, here they were. There was a whole bunch of people now there, over 100 confirmed sightings, with people seeing this creature, and some of them actually purportedly taking pictures. You've been looking at some of them here, like these are actual photographs of what they believe to be Whitey, again the White River monster there within that body of water. There were even attempts to try to capture it. There was a giant net that was created to try to capture it. There was even a deep sea diver that was, I guess, commissioned to be able to dive in to try to find that creature. I don't know exactly if that was a good idea, because let's say he did find the creature, you're talking about something again that is a giant piranha for all intents and purposes. I don't know exactly how things would have turned out well for the deep sea diver if they would have found this creature, but no, they did not. So despite all this attraction and all this emphasis to try to do start to try to find this creature, it was not done. In fact, Bateman's reputation, it seemed like he was almost finished, because despite all this hysteria, it was thought that without any good results, like nobody actually was able to do anything in terms of finding the creature. Now they started to believe that he actually created a hoax. So bad news for Bateman, but at least again for a brief period there was absolutely this hysteria. It turns out that it seems like there was something in terms of like when I was mentioning earlier about the crops and how he was damaging the plantation. It seemed like this creature Okay, so again, I was mentioning like it's a giant piranha, but others reportedly saw that it had giant feet, like giant actual feet, three-toed feet, if you could believe it. So this was a creature that could apparently also get upon land. So not only could it perfectly swim, just like any other fish, but it could also get upon land because tracks were found, something very, very large that was passing by a lot of areas there. So much so that with its size, it was crushing vegetation and there were broken trees everywhere. So, because of that, I can kind of see now that yes, maybe this was why he wanted to destroy that area because yes, it truly was impacting his plantation. So, cut to a couple of decades later, it seemed like there was a lull of sorts when it came to the sightings of this White River monster. But cut to a couple of decades later, 1971, that's when someone saw this creature again. This time, they added a little unique feature to the sighting. Now, this thing, whatever it was, had a huge horn sticking out from its forehead. They also saw that it had this weird, I guess you could call it spiny back of some sort. I can't really describe it. I guess just picture it like maybe like Stegosaurus type thing. I don't know, Spinosaurus, but who knows? But it was a spiny back, almost 20 feet long, and then also others described that it had this strange, bizarre shedding skin. Like it was shedding everything, but at the same time, the skin underneath it was glossy, smooth. So a whole bunch of sightings again started again in 1971, and this time there was a new assortment of weird varieties of descriptions of this creature. But if you want to talk about weird, check this out. This cut to 2 years later, 1973, and I had to look into this. It seems like it is actually real. So by this point, this creature, Whitey, again is the description, the local term for it, it had become such a beloved monster of sorts that there was a legislation signed into law, and it was signed by a senator named Robert Harvey. He created what was called the White River Monster Refuge, specifically there for the White River area. And the way it was anywhere that area is located between quote unquote the southern point of the river known as the Old Grand Glaze and the northern point known as Rosie, that specific location is now protected. If you can believe it, that this creature, that again is like a fable of sorts, it's a local legend, still no confirmed 100% sighting as of yet, but this law was passed to protect it nonetheless. It is now illegal to try to find the creature in order to harm it within that refuge. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that nuts? I think this is a first. Like, I think this is the actual first of a law protecting a cryptid slash monster. I have not heard of that anywhere else. If somebody can point me in another direction like that, like that's been done with another creature, please do so. But I think this is actually the very first time. If anyone has further proof of that law being passed too, that would be really great to hear. But lo and behold, about 50 plus years of sightings of this creature finally led to this law protecting it. So isn't that fascinating? So after that time period, there hasn't really been anything else in terms of its sightings, its locations, its encounters. Wherever it was in that area, it seems like it just went away. Never really caused any harm to people per se. Some of the pictures you saw here, it seems like it was like a vicious creature, savage creature, but no, nothing along those lines. There was that one story again during the Civil War where it seemed like it overturned a boat of some sort carrying transportation. I would guess that even if it was the case, it might have been just by accident. Like wherever this thing was swimming, it's so large that either it ran into it by accident or vice versa, but who knows. I think that's more along the lines of an unintended consequence of what occurred. But since the 70s, there has been no other known instance. Now, as far as its explanation, there's a cryptozoologist, a guy by the name of Roy Mackal, who gives a pretty good thesis. I mean, he states that this could be nothing other than a mistaken identity, that this White River monster is actually a very large elephant seal. Elephant seals can grow very large, 14 feet plus, and they can weigh a bunch, 5,000 pounds or so, and they also have that grayish skin that this white river monster was described as having. They also shed, they do a whole bunch of summer molting apparently, and they have those large tracks, those three-toed tracks that again is also tied to this creature. So how an elephant seal got all the way there up towards the Arkansas area, I have no idea. That would be for someone else to explain. But if that's the case, that could be an interpretation of what this creature truly is. Another thing is this creature just could be a one of a kind, an unidentified fish, an abnormally large fish of some sort. If that's the case, it's a creature that has been around for a long time then, because we're talking about the Civil War period up until maybe today. I haven't heard of fishes really living that long, so who knows as far as that explanation too. So, but that's it. That's all the information about White River Monster, again also known colloquially as Whitey. If anyone's from the Arkansas area and you have more like great tales tied to this creature, more local tales, that'd be really great to hear. I would love the idea that you could go there, right to that specific area, the White River area, and if the legends are true, there it is somewhere, old Whitey still swimming around towards the bottom at that specific location. So if anyone wants to do a little bit of good hunting, cryptid hunting or monster hunting, that's a great area to start there. So alright everybody, thanks again as always, take care.